Hi friends, today's lesson is about disappointment. Everyone experiences disappointment. Maybe someone from your mob or someone from your family, or some of the COVID restrictions are now causing you great disappointment. You may be struggling with work or being able to see your friends, even missing out on church. But I guarantee that today's message will give you some tools that will make your life happier. And if not, I'll double your money back. May God bless you today. And disappointments for expectations that aren't met are because they are unrealistic or untimely. So to be unrealistic is, why me? Why is this happening? Or why not me? This should be happening. Why is it happening now? Untimely. Or why isn't it happening now? And I just want to share some thoughts about that. We have unmet expectations with people. And some of the examples in that could be, well, she lied. Or he cheated. Or they said terrible things about me. They were racist. They favoured their own family over me. Also, there's a scripture that says, there's not a just man on earth who does good and does not sin. So our expectations with people are unrealistic when we think they will meet our standards or achieve things in the right timeline for us. Unmet expectations with life in general. Well, maybe you had some bad news. You missed out on the job or the scholarship or the opportunity to get into a course or something you were really looking forward to. You missed out on the house that you'd applied for. Maybe you had some unfair losses, things that were yours were taken, or somebody took a position that you should have had. Maybe you had bad news from the doctor, and we've sat in the rooms to hear those terrible things, and many of us can understand that kind of disappointment. Maybe you've lost a loved one. Yet Job said, man is born to trouble as the sparks fly upward. Life is going to give you hard times. You're going to find disappointments. I know that as I speak to you today, you have many already. But let's make sure that those disappointments are not because they're unrealistic from our part and they're untimely and we're putting pressure on. There will be unmet expectations with yourself, and you might be saying, well, why did I do that? I let them down. I was sure to succeed, but I failed. And it's all my fault. You may be disappointed with yourself because you said something dumb and you ruined a good relationship or a good opportunity. Romans tells us, I know that in me, that is in my flesh, nothing good dwells. So sometimes our expectations are just too high. And we think that we're going to get through life perfectly. We're not. And we will be disappointed, not just with others, but also with ourselves. Sometimes we have unmet expectations with God. And we could say to him, God, why did you do this? Or why didn't you do this? When we were expecting it to happen, it hasn't happened. I expected better, God. I expected more. I thought you would be like us and just sort this out for me right now. And sometimes those expectations are because we have an unrealistic understanding of who God is, what he does, and we have an unrealistic time frame for how he should work. And we hurt ourselves when we do that. But it's no surprise to God, because it tells us in the scripture that Jesus himself has been through so much of this before. Martha said, Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me to serve alone? Therefore, tell her to help me. Look at this girl. Here I am doing all the work and throwing it onto Jesus. You don't care. Unrealistic. Tell her to help me. Fix it now. Unrealistic. And Jesus didn't actually do what she thought he would do. Another example with Martha again is when her brother had died and he'd been buried. She said, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. Her time frame was that if Jesus was here now, he would have been able to fix this, instead of understanding that he had a bigger plan, and her brother, in fact, was raised from the dead and gave us a great understanding of Jesus' power of resurrection. So the situation with God was that his expectations put on him were that they were unrealistic and they were untimely. But when we're dealing with disappointment, when we move beyond the initial disappointment, and everybody should feel disappointed with things in life, don't misunderstand what I'm saying, is that we can move through steps of doubt, despair, and depression. And these things mean that we push it in, it becomes deeper in us, and we become self-focused. We lose a vision for the future. We doubt that this person is worth trusting. We doubt that this situation is fair or just. We even doubt ourselves. And we don't think that there is an opportunity for good to come. So we doubt the future. We lose a vision for the future. We become self-focused. Despair, where you feel like you really just can't breathe and you can't process this. And depression, where literally means to be pressed down. So we lose hope. We become self-focused and not solution-focused. When we're dealing with disappointment, it can be affecting us in the mind and the heart. But when we get to doubt, despair, and depression, it is so much worse. We need to be sensitive to not allow that to happen. And beyond that, we go below the line to division and death. We say it may be best to just cut them off. We're disappointed with them, push them out of our life. Or we might even move away, have nothing to do with them. And there are those who go through life who cut off a family member because they were disappointed with something they said one Christmas party. And there are others who take it further than that, and it moves to death. And they'll say things like, it's better if I was dead, or perhaps even it's better if they were dead. And what I mean by death is also that there's no hope of restoration. So we move to division and death after we've gone past doubt, despair, and depression. All from disappointment. And we need to be careful not to let it get to that stage. So let's talk about dealing with disappointment well. 3 things I'll mention.